Richard Bedford Bennett. Can anyone here tell me how many prime ministers Canada has had, counting the one in power now? And does anyone know how many of those prime ministers had a title? The answer to that is 8. 7 were knighted, and 1 was given the title of Viscount, and that one Viscount was Richard Bedford Bennett. He was also the last Canadian Prime Minister to be given a title. Bennett was an unusual man. He was born into poverty in Hopewell Hill in New Brunswick, and because of his deprived childhood, he formed a lifelong principle of work as hard as you can, earn all you can, save all you can, and then give all you can. He followed his own principle for the rest of his life. He worked hard and became a lawyer, then went into politics, starting with the town council in Chatham, New Brunswick. He then moved to Alberta at the age of 27, where he still worked hard. He was elected in a territorial government, a provincial government, and then the House of Commons. When the First World War broke out, he tried to join up, but was rejected for being physically unfit. He was 44 at the time, and used to a life that was not manual labor. Nonetheless, he had still followed his principle of work as hard as you can. Running for political positions is not easy. And he had followed his principle of earn all you can, because by this time he was a millionaire. Bennett was a devout conservative, and at the first Conservative Leadership Convention held in Canada in 1927, he was chosen to be leader of the party. He subsequently won the election of 1930, which thrust him forcefully into the worst of the Great Depression. Now, he was a lifelong bachelor, so he had little experience in social relationship. He was more accustomed to business affiliations. He also had a reputation for being a teetotaler. That is, he did not drink alcohol. This seems to be in some doubt, because he did drink with a very few select associates. All in all, there was very little about him that would appeal to the hard-working middle class, the people who were having trouble making money or finding their next meal. As Prime Minister, he lived in the Chateau Laurier, a posh hotel. Not only did he live there, he had one whole floor. Bennett thought that international trade would be the right course to pursue for a country undergoing harsh financial realities. He believed that by imposing tariffs and taxes on all imports and exports, except on those in the British Commonwealth of which Canada was a member, international trade would be encouraged. It was an abysmal failure. At a time when laborers were flocking to urban areas in a state of high unrest, there were concerns that violence would break out and the general population would be endangered. With that volatility as an incentive, there were relief camps set up in remote areas all over the country. They were run by the military, and unemployed men who were single could earn 20 cents a day. This situation brought its own problems. The unrest exhibited by laborers who had moved into urban centers was now carried over into the relief camps, where socialists and communists invaded to try and organize men into labor unions. In fact, the Relief Camp Workers' Union was formed and associated with the Workers' Unity League, which was the trade union umbrella of the Communist Party. It was not enough. Bennett tried to introduce his New Deal, as it was called. It offered such forward-thinking programs as a minimum wage, unemployment insurance, health insurance, expanded prevention provisions, and a maximum number of workings in 1 week. These were considered to be really progressive, but were subsequently watered down before passing into legislation during the administration of William Lyon Mackenzie King, who succeeded Bennett. Even though Bennett's name was now being associated with the worst of the Great Depression in Canada, unknown to most people and rarely if any mentioned in any media, he was sending money to many of the poor who wrote him. It was not unusual for him to receive hundreds, if not more, letters begging for the loan of $5 or $10 just until the fall, or can pay you back in December, and it was equally not unusual that he sent money to those who wrote him. At one point, he estimated that he had sent out $2 or $3 million in this way. So the part of his personal principle that said, give all you can, was acted upon by himself. His legacy was as a symbol of a dirty time in Canada, and his other achievements are long forgotten. Setting up the Bank of Canada, establishing the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, the Canadian Wheat Board, plus some of the smaller, more local achievements, like the Calgary Public Library. He lost overwhelmingly in the next election, and soon after he moved to the United Kingdom, where he was made a Viscount, and where he died and was buried. He is the only Prime Minister of Canada not buried in Canada.